Hey all you Ghoulie Pops, and welcome to the third episode of the Hot Ghouls Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie. Today we have with me
Tara.
And Jen.
Welcome, Jen. It's her first time on the pod.
Oh yes, well, welcome Jen. Yay. The first time for her to be on our podcast, like Tara was saying.
So exciting.
We're very excited to have you. So today we're actually going to be having Tara covering the episode. So she's going to give her own little story, and I'm going to let her take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Hi, ghouls. Welcome back. Before we get started, I want everyone to know something about me is that I absolutely love all things cults. I eat up all of that stuff. I am utterly fascinated by them. I think that there should be hundreds of more podcasts and documentaries so that I can listen to it. I'm fascinated by all of them. Large ones, small ones, religious ones, ones that are deemed not religious, all of the ones that have come out in the mainstream media, especially in the last few years. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the documentaries, like the Twin Flame one and the TikTok dance cult. So I will be covering a cult today. With that being said, I will be covering and we will be discussing the cult that One Tree Hill star Bethany Joy Lenz found herself in for the better part of 10 years. Just to clarify, Bethany Joy Lenz is her professional name. It is her legal name and what she goes by, like that's what her credits are, but she goes by Joy.
Oh.
She goes by Joy. She has her whole life.
It's my mom's name.
Oh, yeah. So we'll be referring to her as Joy. There's not too much material regarding this cult or high demand group, as some might call it, since it is relatively small and it seemed to be flying under the radar.
Is it still going?
As far as we know, yeah. And so my main source will be Bethany's book, Dinner for Vampires, which I highly recommend. It came out in late October of 2024. Her podcast on Call Her Daddy, and her bonus episode with Was I in a Cult? I did also dig up a few other sources while sleuthing on the internet, but that's more hearsay. Okay? And this will be a one-part episode, just covering this. So let's get into the affectionately called Big House Family Cult.
Okay.
Sorry, before we dive in, I want to take the time to describe the structure of the cult, and as we discuss it further, how these people that I mentioned will come into Joy's life. So Joy used pseudonyms for all of the people mentioned in her book. Her father-in-law did make a statement regarding the publication, and doing so revealed his identity. Also, her husband's name is on the internet as well, so you can kind of deduce some information, with that. But the father, while discussing this, I will be using the pseudonyms. So, let's get into it.
I'm ready.
The leader of the group is Les. That would be Joy's father-in-law, or ex-father-in-law. QB, Joy's ex-husband. Martine, Joy's mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, sorry. The Barbarians, which are Joy's ex-husband's brothers. They're twins. Then we have Pam and Ed, who are the mother and father of Abe and Harker, who are also part of the LA group, which also includes Mina, Camille, and Emily. And then we have the Idaho members, Dante, Jasmine, Gretchen, Juana, Miguel, Danielle, and Kurt and Lucy.
It's a good amount of people.
There's a good amount of people. Mm-hmm. So Joy first got involved with LA members when her friend Mina asked her to join a Saturday night prayer group that her friends Abe and Harker held at their house. Joy went and enjoyed the companionship and the shared love of God. Pam and Ed would, together or separately, help their sons host the night and give insight from time to time. Les joined the group, I believe a few months in, after meeting Pam and Ed in Idaho. Les was a self-proclaimed pastor from New York and was now in the Pacific Northwest. Pam and Ed actually loaned their very large Idaho house to Ed and his family while they were getting back on their feet. They actually, and I'll mention this before, were kind of being removed from the church that he was working in Washington. Wow. And because the enemy was infiltrating the congregation. Essentially, they were resisting his growth and change.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So less. Lovely less.
Lovely less.
So I just want to take a moment. The Idaho house is very interesting as she describes it. It's actually how do I describe it? It is almost like a replica, I believe it was, of George Washington's house in Mount Vernon. So it's this really large, stately home in Idaho that had, quite many rooms, things like that. And then Pam and Ed actually relocated to the apartment above the garage, while Les and his family took over the main house.
That's so interesting of a choice to
It is.
replicate.
That is too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
No. It's very.
I mean, also interesting in a choice to completely let your entire house that you had replicated
And then you live in an apartment upstairs
Yeah.
while letting
on top of above a garage.
basically strangers.
I'm sure it's a nice apartment considering that they had this entire estate, right?
Yeah, I
But,
believe so. Yeah.
Still kind of wild that you're the one that was like, no, babes, you take that main house. That's
Yeah.
for you.
No, it's very, very interesting,
Yeah,
and I think
like, why
very
you were so
telling
willing.
and
Yeah.
foreshadowing of how the group would just continue forward. Les slowly became a regular figure in the Saturday night prayer sessions and would ultimately take it over from Abe and Harker, who, before Les's involvement, were often found leading the sessions with music, prayer for the group. They would have spiritual discussions. I myself have never experienced a prayer group. I will also mention here that I was raised Catholic and not a huge devotee of the religion. So a lot of the prayers, thoughts, guidance terms, things that were provided them are a little foreign to me. Just things I haven't heard in my regular life. Is that something you guys experienced growing up?
As far as
I know youth groups was a thing.
Yeah.
Having Bible study, all of those things. I just never really experienced it.
Personally, no, I did not experience it, but I do have a family member who is very involved with Bible study currently, and does devote a lot of her time to the church. So not a personal experience, but definitely from seeing it from the outside, I can add something in.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I actually grew up in kind of that.
Oh,
zone.
wow.
Yeah, so when I was younger, my Grammy, she was very big into just introducing us to God and making sure that she had raised a godly family and that extended down to her grandchildren. That was something that she prided herself on and wanted that continuance with her own daughter and how her daughter raised her family. But the church that we went into is a Methodist church. I can't say that I really disliked it from growing up. I did find that they were a little bit more jazzy. So they were really big with music and
Mm-hmm.
introducing God through just the movement of your soul, which was really nice.
Yeah.
They also had a huge Bible school. So from certain ages when you were younger, you would be, I can't remember the age cutoff per se, but I think it was around 11, 12, 10, that age. And so beforehand, you were always kind of put in the basement.
I feel like I remember youth groups being put in the basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a
Bye.
Sunday school, your
Yeah.
parents went to church and they're like, here, go play
No, that's literally
other
exactly.
kids.
Yeah.
In the
You
basement.
might learn something about the Bible.
So
Yeah.
they tried, there was arts and crafts. So I remember that was kind of their big gateway of the crafts would always have to do with Moses and that little boat and all those fun things. And then they would always in a very it was never super serious, which was nice. In a very lighthearted way, they would kind of tell you about Jesus and give you a lighthearted sermon that way. But yeah, I kind of it wasn't an annoying experience. I mean, once I got to church, it was I had to be up top, and had to do it.
And then we're bored.
Yeah, because then you have to shake people's hands. There's a moment they do that for whatever reason. I don't know you.
I don't know
Shake
you.
my hand, I'm a child.
I wonder if it's different post-COVID.
I truly, yeah.
How
I
nice.
don't know. I haven't. Yeah,
I cannot say.
Personally, cannot say.
I mean, it's no, secret that or religion helps create a sense of community around people, and definitely a sense of safety for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that seek it once a traumatic event happens. They seek it as a way of guide their soul back to what they once kind of knew, if not hopefully for the better.
Yeah.
So that is definitely, I feel, a lot of people that are born again, they have these kind of big moments that happen in their life that kind of bring them to that road.
Definitely. And Joy was one of those people that grew up very religious. She grew up in a Christian household. Her parents always encouraged her to have a relationship with God and have faith. So things like a prayer group, which isn't a church by any means. It's just a prayer group. It's you and
a meeting,
group of
right?
like-minded people come together and read from the Bible, discuss things that happened to you, share stories, share advice, just, help continue to strengthen your relationship with God. So, like I mentioned, Joy grew up in a very Christian household. Her parents encouraged a strong relationship with God, and she was herself a part of other prayer or youth groups growing up. So something like what she was now getting involved in LA seemed very benign, something very
natural.
Very natural. She had done it before.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Joy's upbringing to maybe help understand how she got involved in the group and how they were able to weaponize her childhood emotions and trauma to control her for the better part of 10 years. Joy grew up in a Christian household and was an only child. She moved around a little bit with her parents, from Florida to Texas, and finally landing in New Jersey after her father inherited his childhood home. During their time in Texas, they did move throughout a few cities, and as she was probably struggling to, form roots anywhere, something that her mom got her involved in was community theater, and that's where she found her love for the stage.
Oh, nice.
Well, moving around can be very hard on any child. It did kind of seem ultimately like a good move for Joy's budding acting career to be so close to New York City.
Okay.
I will say Joy describes her childhood and her growing love for acting so intimately in her book. She has such a strong relationship with the art, and she truly does love it. So I encourage everybody to go read it. I really think it's it's a really nice, even throughout everything that she goes through with them and the 10 years that she's with them, she's acting the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the most part. Yeah, I mean, she's on One Tree Hill the whole time.
Yeah.
And she truly loves it. And she seems like a very creative person, just at heart.
Nice to, really find something that it's like your niche. Like when you're like going through so many like life changes, like moving, that you can like have something, okay, well, this is somewhere that I can always find my comfort. Yeah.
So she didn't necessarily find a super strong group in New York because she didn't live there and she was going back and forth with auditions. But she would grow up staying strong in her faith while pursuing her acting career and going to auditions in New York City. Joy's parents would eventually divorce when she was a junior in high school, which, ultimately kind of continued driving, having a strain on a relationship with your parents. You always have a strain when you're 17, 18, a relationship with your parents. So throwing divorce in there as well is really difficult and can really alter how you handle relationships in the future. But anyway,
For sure.
After graduation, Joy moved to New York City to be closer to her dream of becoming a film star. She did find success in New York, she did find success in New York, getting a recurring role on Guiding Light, the soap opera. For a little while. And she also found a prayer group of like-minded Christians that she connected with.
The two things that keep her, together.
Yes. And this is where Joy met her close friend and co-member Camilla, a Catholic who converted to Christianity.
Okay.
Also an actress. As much as Joy loved her budding community and acting career in the city, she in time made the decision so many aspiring actors do and moved to LA.
Yeah, that's the go-to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's either New York or LA, but I guess it depends on what you want. Yes, and she was she did love Broadway. She did eventually want to be on Broadway, but she also wanted to be a film star.
Yeah.
And Guiding Light is you can get pigeonholed in being a soap opera actress or just being a TV actress or whatever. So she wanted to go to LA and try her luck out there.
Okay.
It was in LA that Joy was introduced to Mina, who she met through a mutual friend that they had in New York. I believe they actually moved in together, and Mina is the original connection of how Joy got involved with the Big House Family cult.
Yeah.
So Joy and Mina would attend these prayer sessions on Saturday nights at Abe and Harker's home. Like I mentioned, it was all innocent enough, a group of young Hollywood artists who were trying to stay true to their faith while working in an industry that did not necessarily encourage Christian values.
Okay.
Yes, even with the type of
roles
that you would take too.
Yeah.
They could be a little scandalous, and she wasn't necessarily always stay clear of things like that, but you would see it incorporate deeper and deeper into the choices she made.
Okay, as far as
in her career,
to, keep that kind of innocence with.
Yes, kind of being a role model, a Christian role model. And I think it's important to note that during her time with the group, a notion was like heavily put on them that the people outside of them just didn't understand what they were doing. And that's why they got so many questions and maybe so much backlash if they did experience that, because they just didn't understand like the spiritual connection and the relationship with each other and God that they had. So I kind of feel like that also made them feel like they were a little bit better than other people. And then that's why I mentioned it, because like her not maybe doing certain roles can be seen as like making better choices.
Okay.
You know, maybe not taking a role where she's like living with somebody like but not being married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she wouldn't do something like that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Like what time frame is all this happening?
Oh, so the late 90s, early 2000s, because One Tree Hill, One Tree Hill first aired, I think it was 2003, and she had already been involved in this group for a few years before One Tree Hill actually came into,
wow.
yeah, the majority of the beginning of her book is I really appreciate it because it shows the slow progression of them really digging their claws into her.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and they just had such control over her life for so long that it almost felt like natural for them just to make all these decisions for her towards the end.
That's wild to have like a whole entire like entity essentially to make decisions for you financially, for you like as far as career goes.
Yeah.
Like just to think like I would rip my parents' head off if they now try and make a decision for me now.
Well, how old was she when she first joined?
So Joy joined this group when she was young, actually celebrating her 21st birthday with them. But she had already been involved with the group for some time before that, and this was the first time she was able to see her two lives collide. Okay. So she had her not youth group. So she had her prayer group, as well as people like her mom, some of her other acting friends coming to like a birthday party for her. Oh. And it was awkward and eye-opening, and seemingly solidified the faith she had in her prayer group.
Really? Wow.
Yes. Isn't that interesting?
That is so
I feel like for me, you would think it would be the opposite. Yeah. But they had already started putting in her mind that she had to set boundaries because these people just didn't understand her.
So like that whole entire party was just them being like, see, look.
Kind of, like, because her mom had a conversation with Pam. It was a little bit tense, and like her, Christian friends weren't drinking, and it wasn't that bad, but she did just see how the difference.
Yeah.
And it really just, Joy was so heavily indoctrinated in this group, making regular visits to the Idaho house that I had mentioned, which I would say was actually more of a compound.
Did she stay there for extended amount of times?
Yes. So this house would eventually become the cornerstone of the group, with many coming to stay there for weeks or months at a time.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Joy being one of those members. They would hold prayer sessions where people were encouraged to listen to Les drone on about whatever new way he was going to manipulate the group. Okay. So I think it's important to talk about some of the terms, which I'm going to sprinkle in from now on, that they used, which I think really worked on their continued manipulation and isolation from their loved ones in the outside world.
Okay.
So one of these terms was biofamily, and since there was biofamily, there was also spiritual family. Oh. Biofamily means the family that you are born into, but not the family that God has called you to serve.
Wow.
Which I think.
Wow.
Which I think is a little backwards. Like, doesn't God pick your family?
Truly.
So God's wrong, right?
Yes,
you would think so.
You would think.
Our belief system is
God made a little boo-boo.
Everything for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
However, no, we're not gonna. No. Because you're not meant to be in that family, you're meant to be in ours.
Right, and then they would even refer to themselves as their, especially Les and Pam, as their spiritual parents.
And this is Les?
So Les and Pam would refer to themselves as the younger members' spiritual parents. Oh. They would make it seem like they would know them so much better, that their parents didn't respect boundaries.
How really manipulative and like absolutely deranged to be like, your young mind, I'm going to tell you I'm your spiritual parent.
But also think about it, it's these kids or young adults that are separated from everyone from their families, because how often are actors moving to LA with their parents? So it's like, oh, this parental figure is going to be taking care of me now.
And you know what's so scary about that concept is that Abe and Harker's parents were there.
Wow.
But they, Pam especially, in my opinion, just got so involved with Les. Not romantically or anything like that, but they just became the two leaders.
Wow.
I would, something I want to say to kind of really showcase how well that they were splitting her from her family. So the first time that she went to Idaho, she arrived there and she had like a bit of a cough, and after dinner somebody had given her some cough syrup to take, so she took a spoon. I think she took a spoonful, she mentions. She wakes up like 2 days later.
What?
2 days later, like feeling like, oh my god, like all groggy, wakes up. And everybody's like, oh my god, you were so tired, you know. She's like, yeah, I think my cough is gone now. And she thought it was like 4 p.m. the next day. It was like 4 p.m. 2 days later, right?
That's so scary.
So obviously she had a bunch of missed calls and texts from her mom, her dad, and her friend Camilla.
Thinking she's probably missing. Like, wow.
Truly. They didn't even know she had gone to Idaho. Because this was like her first time.
Anybody.
No, because she was in her early 20s, and they were making it seem like she was asserting her independence, but only against her bio family. You're not asserting your independence against your spiritual family.
Yeah.
So she called her mom back after she like found out that she was asleep for 10 days, or not 10 days, she was asleep for a couple of days, and her mom kind of laid into her, like, I was so worried about you, I didn't know what was going on, and she was like, I don't need to call you back, I'll call you back when I'm ready, I'm an adult, I can make the decision. She's like, I just want you to let me know that you're okay, but it was, they would spin it, that the mom didn't trust her to make decisions, to be an adult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gives you a look into how they would separate the bio and the spiritual family.
Yeah.
And they would want you to assert your boundaries, but not to them.
Yeah.
Imagine thinking, like, just having that, like, brain capacity to be like, oh, well, I see that this is, like, a fight that's happening within this family. Let me kind of bounce in on this. And let me see where you're, like...
Seeing all the vulnerable parts.
Oh, they saw whatever crack, whatever little insecurity you have, and it's like they had this, like, power for that.
Wow.
So the group really took a lot of Joy's time away from anything other than her work, but she did continue going on auditions and booking jobs, and she would be cast as Haley James Scott in the hit TV show One Tree Hill. I never watched One Tree Hill. It came out in 2003, so I was like 11 when it came out. You guys were 10? No, that's like, it's kind of like the OC or 90210. Yeah.
I'm sure my mom was all about that back in the day.
Oh, really?
She, like, loves all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, cute. So it was a very popular show. I mean, it was extremely popular. It was a cult classic or whatever. It had a huge following. It was
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, right. It was an ensemble cast. Chad Michael Murray, Sophia Bush, all of those famous people were in there. And she was one of the people, or whatever. It was during her time on the show that she would be split between the set in North Carolina and the house in Idaho for 7 seasons.
Okay.
She would become even more involved in the group, eventually marrying the leader's son, Q. I want to highlight a couple of examples that happened between Joy and the group that I think are significant enough to point out. I think it shows how deeply manipulative a person or persons can be to others.
Yeah.
So during her time on One Tree Hill, obviously we didn't watch it, so we didn't know this, but Joy actually did a singing tour for the show with another cast member and then other people throughout the United States, kind of like promoting the show, but also like she was a singer. She could actually sing.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And the tour ended in New York, where her agent, I believe it was her agent, was able to get her the audition for Belle of Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, which is like a dream role for her. She was so excited, and I believe she was either definitely going to get the role or she was offered the role. And funny enough, like the first people she told was not her spiritual group. And this was like a few years in, I believe, into the One Tree Hill. But she told like her makeup and hair people first because like they loved Broadway. And she actually told her, I think her mom or her parents, either one, first. And then she was like, oh, like I have to talk to them about it. And so she did contact her spiritual family because they did call each other a family. Sorry if I haven't pointed that out yet, but they do call each other a family for guidance. And I truly think they pushed her in this direction just to really tighten the grasp they had on her, because I'm sure her being so far away for so many, for either weeks or months on end, scared them of losing control. But it's funny because there is there's a lot of financial fraud, and they do benefit from her lucrative career. So for them to ultimately push her into not taking this role it's almost like a double-edged sword. Like they're doing it, they could have gotten more money from her, you know what I mean? And she probably would have had maybe more of a career even then, but they also didn't want to lose her. Which she thinks if she took the role on Broadway, they would have lost her. She would have come to her senses.
Well, because Broadway, you're doing, 8 shows a week? Like, you
Truly.
don't have
And
the
she would have been
time.
like what she always wanted to do, what her grandma wanted her to do. It was a dream role.
Yeah.
And she didn't take it.
That's so sad. I'm sure she, like, really kicks herself in the behind for that now. But, I mean, when you are so devoted to the spiritual side of your life and you have these people saying that they think it's better for you not to do it, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to go against their wishes?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because that was definitely more of a control thing, because it's not like that role is going to be, like, provocative or anything, or, like, send the wrong message to somebody.
It's like every little girl's
so it's
dream
for
to play
sure
a princess.
a control thing. But,
Yeah, no, they just kind of made it seem like it would take her away from the family more, really stunt her spiritual growth.
Like guilt-tripped her.
Truly. And another instance I want to talk about is while she was, this is before her marriage, but while she was working on One Tree Hill, Les and Kurt decided they wanted to invest and buy a dilapidated motel and get it up and running.
Interesting.
They flew to North Carolina for one night to talk to Joy in the guise of visiting her, and talk to her about investing in this business venture, ultimately convincing her by making it, like, kind of empowering her, making her feel like, oh my god, you're making an investment, you make so much money, it's nothing to you. She invested, the first $10,000 that she invested was in this dilapidated motel.
Okay.
Just a little bit on the hotel. It was disgusting. Members of the family were running the place. They were misappropriating funds.
Okay.
They were allowing guests in there that were against their spiritual morals. They would reprimand the employees for making any little decision without Les or Kurt's explicit approval. Yeah, it's really messed up.
It's a hotel or motel?
Oh, they said it was a hotel, but it was a motel.
Actual motel.
Yeah, yeah. That was actually like a touchy topic, touchy little topic.
And said, here you go.
So the group continued to work its magic over Joy throughout her time on One Tree Hill, and then, like I had said, she would eventually find herself in that controlling marriage with Q for 7 years.
Wow.
7 years. So during the marriage, Q asserted his spiritual leadership over Joy, controlling everything from what she would wear, who she would talk to, and what roles she would consider. Mm-hmm. It was during her marriage that Joy experienced that financial fraud that I had mentioned, I believe.
She just has this manipulation in all aspects of her life.
All aspects. So the financial fraud that so many others often do when in a high-demand group.
Yeah.
Joy estimates she was swindled out of nearly $2 million. This does not include the $10,000 she invested in the motel. The other $200,000 she invested in a restaurant.
Oh my gosh.
And the house that she bought for her and Q in Idaho.
Wow.
And I'm sure a bunch of other, expenses that she made over the time, paying for everything that happened throughout their marriage. And she didn't even discover this until she made the very difficult decision to leave.
So, because he was the man, he had control of the finances type deal.
Yeah, so I will talk about, or I could just talk about it now.
Like, how much of a fraud do you feel like that, like, to have left the marriage, had your eyes open from that, I would feel like my whole entire marriage, from the start to the end, was just, like, fraud. Like,
so I
was it
didn't
true feeling?
no. So I didn't get too in-depth in their marriage, because she does explain it, and she doesn't even get, I would say, she doesn't spend that much time on it. I think she spends more time on more of, like, the control. Les and Pam and all of them had control over her. Yeah. But she ultimately decided to get into the marriage with Q because everybody else in the group was pairing off. And Q was a few years younger than her. I think she was 24 and he was 21. They got married, and she admitted to having a crush on him, and it kind of blew up from there. Les latched onto that like a dog with a bone. Obviously, he wanted his son to marry her, have even more control over her money and her life, and being the good Christian woman that she was, did all of the things, merged her finances, put his name on all of her accounts. And she had, from my understanding, also really had financial advisors a lot of her career too, so she was used to having that in her life.
Okay, yeah. Which makes sense with that much
But-
money that you're making.
But Les started a financial advisory institution.
There we go.
Where she would, I believe it was called Triad, which she would eventually put all of her money into.
That's cool. I'm going to fix this.
He's like, I'm on it.
I got an idea. real quick. Hold on.
As a matter of fact.
And so I wanted to touch on another term that they use because I think it's very relevant in her marriage, and they brought up the word Jezebel a lot. Jezebel, which everybody has heard the word Jezebel. It's like a moralist woman, or a woman that is very in tune to her sexuality, independent, assertive. It's a term in the Bible, I'm pretty sure. As the group continued on and developed more, this whole Jezebel and the concept that women should be more submissive and men should assert their dominance over the women in the group got stronger and stronger. One thing that she mentioned was like men are warriors, women are princesses, like they need to protect the women, like very archaic ideals, very common for a cult. This would turn into, women should always turn to their husbands or a male leader for guidance, not make business decisions without them, and so on. It's very typical, I think, in a high-demand group or cult for them to sort of empower one group and push down another. So they were empowering the men a little bit more, not more than less, but pushing the women down to make sure that they were always taking guidance from their husbands or from the leaders like Les and Kurt.
Yeah, I feel like that's very common with cults, or even just like very
for
religious groups, not even like getting to that cult status. It's like you trust the man and the family
to make these important decisions.
It's always
and not even, and sometimes very non-important decisions like what you're wearing.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Yeah. So Joy would often be stuck between chastising herself for not being that submissive woman and being the strong, independent woman her mother raised.
Yeah.
Over the years, Les worked on controlling everyone in the group more and more. He would venture into more crap business ventures, like I mentioned, the hotel, and then there was a restaurant I mentioned she invested in. Yeah. They bought this dilapidated restaurant in town that was very poorly managed. The financial advisory group that I had mentioned were, from my understanding, all of them met Juana and Miguel. They're a married couple. I mentioned them in the beginning. Juana worked at a bank. All members were encouraged to move their money to the bank that Juana worked at, so Les had more control and insight into everybody's financial situations. They also incorporated these super intense, intimate prayer sessions in the basement of the Idaho house. This was typically reserved for the core members of the group, as over time the group grew up to I think 25 members. Les put a cap on. I think there's something to say that he kept it so small so he can continue having such control. I think maybe he saw he couldn't control as many people. People started having these side conversations, things like that. So these prayer sessions were extremely invasive and thrust upon members, sometimes like right in the last minute. Some of these members were expected to pour their hearts out on any given subject, like a porn addiction, a gambling addiction that resulted in this person embezzling others' money because she was the bookkeeper of the group, and even discussing your marriage problems. And it was, like Les and Pam and, Joy and some of the other original members. That sounds like literal torture.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely just like another way to get into like everything that you as a person is struggling with, and for them to just sink their claws into that, and then to use that against you,
ripping them down shred by shred until you get to just the...
Well, they make you like also just question every thought that you have too. Like another term that I want to bring up is illegal questions. So they talked about illegal questions. Okay, so the illegal questions, which Joy is asked about on the Call Her Daddy podcast, to kind of give an example, so you guys can maybe understand what like an illegal question is. So like something you can ask yourself is like, did I marry the right person? Like you can't question any of these choices because a lot of it was guided by the leaders. Like that's obviously a question she had. Like I had mentioned, she didn't necessarily have true romantic feelings for her husband. She had friendship feelings, familiarity. She definitely did try.
But it was encouraged.
A slight crush.
Less.
But then it was just shoved down her throat. 100% the marriage is like when the rose-colored glasses came off, because it was very abusive. Whether it was...
right away?
Well, it was... I think it was right away, actually, like from the marriage. It was always very verbally abusive. And then he would be violent around her, which, as she even mentioned, proving that kind of abuse is always kind of hard, too. But anyway, her and Q did have a daughter together. which Joy gives credit to for giving her the courage to eventually leave. Joy was also not the only one who was finally seeing Les and his minions for what they really were, and several other members started to deflect from the group. Although Joy had a strained relationship with her parents at the time of her divorce, they were there for her 100% when she finally made the difficult decision to leave.
That's a really good parent to have.
Oh, give me chills.
Yeah.
So her mother had never fully let her detach herself from her, playing the long game and patiently waiting until her daughter would come back to her.
You said these motherfuckers can play a long game, bitch, I can play it
Longer. That's my baby. That's my baby.
That's my baby girl. You ain't got that one.
Her father was not as smooth in his approach, as they often are not. They did rekindle their relationship when she made the decision, and her father actually, this is so sweet. She found out her father, for the better part of 6 years, was finding out every little detail he could about Les. Yeah. Talking to people, combing through information. He had a binder that she gave to him, which, and this would ultimately be one of the strongest pieces of evidence, I guess you can say, in her case, her custody and divorce settlement against Q, for her to be able to get custody of her daughter and remove them both from that dangerous group.
I love that, like, the mother went emotionally, like, I'm going to be here for you emotionally, and the father was like, I'm going to be here for you intellectually. Like,
she got both, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Les.
Okay.
Cult leaders are certainly fascinating to me, but I feel like I am more intrigued by the members and how someone can have control over them, because I don't think that there is any giant mastermind that's a cult leader that has found the secret sauce. I think they have found vulnerable people. Yeah. I think that they're narcissistic and manipulative, and they just found weak people to prey on, which anyone can do. So Les, I think I mentioned Les was a pastor from New York who had found himself on hard times when he had gotten with the group, and had Pam and Ed, I don't think I mentioned it, but they actually heard of him through his sermons at this church in Washington that he was in. Yeah. So that's how they found him.
He was being let go from that, you said?
Yes, because of the enemy.
Yeah.
Red flag. The more and more time Les spent between the Idaho home and LA group, he was, like I said, slowly gaining control over the members. Les would often insult them, but make it, and also make them question any decisions they were doing, but in like a sickly sweet voice, and he was calling everybody baby. Gross. Hate. Yeah. One example she gave kind of early on in the book was during one of the prayer sessions, and I don't remember if it was in Idaho, I apologize, or the LA house, but they often during the prayer group they would sing. They would sing religious songs together. There's guitar players, piano players, whatever. He took her aside and said that her voice was overpowering others when they sang, and encouraged her to make space for others. Wow. And she took that as like, wow, he's so honest with me. He wants me to be my best self. Like really just shrinking her down.
Yeah, truly. And she's like, oh, I need to be more thoughtful. Yeah, no, babe, shine like the diamond you are.
Yes.
You are like she always has been, but still, like that stings to have somebody that you saw essentially as a spiritual father. Be like, babe, step aside.
Step aside. So I'm gonna go back to that binder that Joy's father so beautifully gave to her. Yeah. She talks about it a little bit about the information that was in there. And so Joy was able to connect with some of the people in Les's past. And they would tell her about the mental, financial, and sometimes sexual abuse they endured under his guidance. These testimonies and those of loved ones and coworkers would help Joy get the custody of her daughter and remove them both from this unsafe environment. So I won't speak to it too much because it's even more, I think, third party of her talking about their situation with him. But there are, she has, first-hand experiences of people who experienced Les before he ever became involved in the LA group. Wow. Of him and Kurt actually knowing each other for a very long time. It's very sick. I actually, I do think that we're going to hear, or I hope, that we hear more about this group so that more people can hear it and hopefully not be trapped into something like this. So it's been over 10 years since Joy has been part of the High Demand group or her spiritual family. She's one of the few lucky ones that can find themselves on the other side of the situation and coming out on top. So many do not find the courage to walk away after putting so much time and energy and money oftentimes. It's extremely hard for somebody to admit that they were duped and blinded by all of the red flags. And I think, like I said, we'll start to hear more people's testimonies. I hope we do. So that's really everything, guys. Thank you for listening to me drone on about Bethany Joy Lenz and her experience at the Big House family. I really encourage everybody to get her book in one way or another. I think she wrote it very beautifully. It's a super intimate point of view of somebody who has this firsthand experience of being in a high demand group, in a cult, and just how dangerous they can be. You really get a lot more insight into her inner dialogue and how she would so often question herself, and how so often her intuition, her gut were talking to her, and how she would so often justify it away. Yeah. And it's so sad to see that, especially in a woman. Your intuition and your gut is everything. Yeah. Always listen to that. She definitely saw the red flags, but she also, and I think like so many others in cults, was kind of like, I'm not stupid enough to get into a cult.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And then all of a sudden,
but then you're so far.
And then it's like, oh my god, I'm in a cult.
And you're like thinking, like, these people would do that to me.
I love, she would often say, I love these people. They would hug a lot. They would be very intimate without being like sexual.
Other, but then they would also,
because again, if it's like
down where you're not seeing it.
The slow build up really makes it hard to see where you're in.
100%.
Sure.
All right, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you in the shadows
and stay ghouly.
It's